It's beeping like that doesn't mean nothing.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
It should be sort of solid, no?
I think because it's charging. Because it's plugged into the battery, so it's beeping.
That's because of the battery?
Yeah, so it's beeping. But
which means that the battery's not strong?
No, meaning that it's giving into, meaning the battery's coming stronger.
Ah.
Yeah, so.
Alright, so this is a Shiur Tanya, Perik Daled, on Omid 16 of the printed Sefer. And this year, albeit a briefer shiur than usual, taking place on Yud Daled Sivan, Monday, Yud Daled Sivan, Tovshinayin base. So we saw that the Torah came down into this world in even from Ma'amayim, Yodim, Mimokim Gavoya, Mimokim Nomo. And we saw that the old Rebbe had a slightly different Lashon, and he used a slightly different Lashon here than in the Lashon Gemara, to imply that exactly the same water, how it is Lamaila, is Yered Lamata. And we were medactic in the further Lashon that he uses the Alter Rebbe Benegir to the coming down of the Torah into the world of Mishom, from that matzah of her being one, completely Torah united, a rice of a kuchabricha, kulochad, in absolute union with Hashem, Mishom Noso v'yordo, and we saw the diuk in Noso v'yordo, B'seisa hamadregas, Madrega la Madrega, B'hishtalshelas ha'elamas, Ad shenislavsha b'dvarim gashmiyim b'inyonej olam hazeh. And we saw that oifen of Yerida was in the form of an asiyah, which had in itself the union of aiming for a certain aim, which means that the appearance of the Torah Lamata, despite the fact that it went through these different levels, that only just passed through those levels but didn't actually become held with them or anything of that nature, or change according to their change, until it came down into the Devarim Agashmiyim, Binyone Olam Hazeh, and the matters of this world, what they are the majority of the mitzvahs, which are adavka given to us in the matters of the world, and that's beneged to the mitzvahs and their halachas. And then we saw that beneged to the same thing, beneged to the actual south of the Torah, the oisias, kashmias of the Torah itself, video ala sefer, in ink, how it appears on the cloth of the sefer. And we saw that that's Esrim Ba'arba, it's a specific number. And all the application of that, as we explained according to the diukin that we made in the previous year, is that the ultimate perfection of Torah and the ultimate aim of Torah was davke to be lamata. And that is the immediate expression of what Torah is all about, even though it comes from such a madrega where it's miyukad petachas hayichud with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but the ikar purpose of the Torah is to be here lamata with the 24 Sforim. We saw that the 24 Sforim are like the number 24 is like the ornaments given to the bride on the day of her wedding, the Kof David Kishuti Kala, as they're called, all of that implying like a realization and a coming to a chasna and a marriage and a union, Davki here lamata, and therefore all of that took part in the Torah, and it all occurred because Kedei Shetiye Kol Machshava Tvisa Bohem, in order that every Machshava by the Odom Lamata should be able to grasp and have a Tvisa in the halachas, and ultimately the oisias of the Torah. ואפילו בחינס דיבור ומעשה שלמדנו ממדרגת מחשבה תפיסה בהן או מתלבשת בהן. That even the level of dibur and maisa, which are underneath in madrega, level of gilui in the nefesh, they're underneath machshava. Machshava is a higher inyan, so therefore it made more sense to the simple reader to assume that machshava would be teifus more in the Inyone Torah, and therefore ultimately in Hashem, than what would dibur and maisa, being as they are much more worldly level, and a level which is lower than that. Nonetheless, we said that all of the madrigas, including Maisa, the Torah was brought down to us in such a way that even through Maisa and through Dibur, we should be able to be teifus in the Inyone HaTorah, and we'll see in the next parak the deal of the word topisa, to grasp the matters of the Torah, and to enter the mitzvahs and the inyonim of the Torah like a lavush, so that that's the idea of mislabish, that we take the inyonim of the Torah as a lavush over us. Torah mitzvah isaya malbishim, and since the Torah and its mitzvahs are acting as a garment, they clothe us over as a garment. Malbishim means the causalary form of the word lilbosh, to clothe and over. Kol esa b'chinas hanefesh, v'chol tariach ivareho, all the main 10 powers of the soul, and as we've already seen, in addition to that, and in more detail, there's 613 limbs of the nefesh, and we saw that's how the nefesh divides itself into detail to enter, and according to all the different needs of the different tariag evorim, minute evorim sometimes, the full details of all the evorim of the Adam, then the nefesh literally divides itself and comes into action through all the different gidim and sinews and so on of the body, adding up as they did with tariag. Mi reisho v'ad raglo, that garment which is placed over the nefesh through the inyan from Torah and mitzvahs takes her over completely, surrounds her completely from the very highest expression of the nefesh in the most edel and developed ava or limb of the body, ad raglo, to the lowest and most simple of all the revelations of the nefesh through the limbs of the body. It surrounds them and engarments them completely. Mi reishav ad raglo. Harei, it flows then that kulo, that the whole nefesh, here from the highest point of its revelation to the lowest point, tzarura or tzruro b'tzroyer hachayim es Hashem mamish. It comes out that she's wrapped up. Tzrura is from the word to wrap up or to empassel something. Tzrura, she's wrapped up. B'tzroyer hachayim, in the parcel of life, es Hashem, and that is bottled. Tzroyer hachayim is the inyan of the Torah, which is bottled completely. Es Hashem indicates bittul, to the Eibishter, completely how he is the Shem of Hayah Mamish, which means that the lavush is ultimately the lavush of the Eibish himself through the medium of the Torah that surrounds completely the whole nefesh of the Odom. So we have to assume that if it surrounds the whole nefesh of the Odom, and the nefesh expresses itself through these different limbs and minor limbs of the body, then ultimately it surrounds the whole Odom Afila Bugufa Begashmias. He's surrounded completely by the Oyer Hashem, and that Loshan Tzrura B'Tzur Achayim Es Hashem is a pasuk in Shmuel, Benagir to in the latter part of the first part of Sefer Aleph of Shmuel, so it's talking about the lifetime of David HaMelech. Well, that's what Abigail, when she was still the wife of this fellow called Novel, who had acted tremendously wrongly and disrespectfully to David as a coming king, his wife came and requested David HaMelech nonetheless that he forgive him and not wipe him out and all these people and wipe out the whole household and everything. She came and asked for clemency on the part of David, and she said, if you do that, she said to David, then that the nefesh of the king will be trura b'trura chayim es Hashem mamish. It will be wrapped around completely in the living apostle, which makes it but completely to Hashem. That's what she said, that will be your reward. So Rashi learns that that's referring, she's saying in Olam Habo, whenever you'll have to come to the divine court, then you'll be surrounded by that light of that mitzvah that you've done. But Lavdavki, that the Alter Rebbe is learning it that way, the Alter Rebbe means that whenever you do a mitzvah and you involve yourself in the study of the Torah and the keeping of its mitzvahs as they're given Davki here in this world, then you're becoming clothed by the oyer of Hashem Mamish as he is Malubish in the Torah. Completely your whole soul in all of its aspects, and therefore your body and all of its aspects, become, as it were, parceled around and absorbed in this makif of the Torah and the rotzen of the Eibusha, and Mamela the Eibush himself, how he's mewed with that rotzen. However, it's very interesting to notice that there are like two expressions in that pasuk. V'hoyeso nefesh adaini tzruro b'tzroyer achayim. Then it says Es Hashem Mami. So that would tend to indicate there's like two almost like two levels or madrigas, two aspects. First of all, he says we call tzrura b'tzroyer achayim, but that's referring to the mitzvahs themselves, the Torah. And then Es Hashem Mamish, bittul to Hashem altogether. Could you turn that off? Where's the Shmulik?